Yeah, you hear my hype music in the background? Check out that drummer. All electronic drums too. So for my brothers who think that you gotta have acoustic drums and you not electronic drums, listen to this brother getting down to Michael Jackson song. You don't even know what it is yet, do you? Welcome to the Manhood Podcast. Provider, protector, procreator, promise keeper. Got a special guest here for you today. Like I said before, I am going to interview all four of my children and have them on the podcast. We talk about being a good dad or a bad dad. I think the kids should actually have a say-so in whether you're a good dad or a bad dad. So I'm asking my kids, what is something I did as a dad that was good? What's something I did as a dad that was bad? What's something that is ugly that you wish we had a do-over for, a mulligan for, that we might be able to do again? Today I got my baby girl, the entrepreneur, in the house here today. And we're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about fatherhood and some of the things that I did as she was growing up. Welcome to the podcast, Joy Man.
Thank you.
Well, let's jump right into it. Did I do anything good as a dad while you were growing up?
No, not a thing. Yeah, it definitely was, I feel like, a unique experience, Mm-hmm. Like, I don't know a lot of people who have good ideas of leadership. Like, mm-hmm. Growing up, everybody I knew, all my friends were like, your dad is just so great. Like, mm-hmm. even my male friends, they would just look up to you because they're like, he just knows how to do everything, So it's just like, definitely got to experience and grow into somebody that is, I mm-hmm. feel like I'm different.
Okay. All right. So being raised by me in particular, and not just by a dad, made you different.
Yeah.
So let me ask you, your friends, do most of them have their dads in their lives?
No. Most of them, it's not even like he would just come by the house once in a while, mm-hmm. no birthday gifts. They didn't get mm-hmm. Pretty much no experience with their fathers. Mm. Yeah.
Okay. And how is that different for you? Or do you notice a difference between you and your friends because of that?
Yeah. I think one of the big things that I notice is I am really, really big on respect and knowing that I deserve it, knowing my own worth, but then also being able to be okay, you're not going to disrespect me again. It is I don't, take too much for too long because I was given respect, but also taught respect.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So we talked a little bit before we turned on the camera here, and we talked about some of the good things. Now, you're an entrepreneur. You have several businesses. Yeah. And we talked about one of the good things was I was supportive in your business. You want to give maybe an example or two?
Yeah. So one of the ones, my first business was Cutie Cakes. And you remember I had my first business plan at 8, 9 years old. Mm-hmm. But that was the first thing I did when I got my phone. And I was I want to do this. I was making mm-hmm. flyers.
How old were you?
9.
9 years old. On an iPhone, she wrote a business plan. How many of you at 9 years old even knew what a business plan was, let alone the ability to write one on an iPhone?
Yeah.
But I might be telling my age too. But go ahead, Cutie Cakes.
Yeah, so with Cutie Cakes, just going to the store and buying all the supplies and Joy, did you think of this? How are you going to tell mm-hmm. people? How are you going to display everything? Mm-hmm. Just kind of really encouraging me to push myself to nothing is too small of a dream to be it's cute, she mm-hmm. makes little cupcakes. It's okay, no, let's, if you want to do this, let's really do it, mm-hmm. And I think that encouraged me. I did a ton of other things, mm-hmm. but I feel especially when I started my clothing line, UCG, mm-hmm. just he invested the first time I started, and every time I had events, he was making sure everything was good. Mm-hmm. Mics, obviously, mics are good. Helping me bring everything in, coming up with different ideas to solve problems I was mm-hmm. having. So it just was there was no shortage of I'm gonna support you and just keep dreaming.
Yeah. So a good thing was I was, there for you, backing your dreams. And let me tell you, this girl is very imaginative, very creative. when she talks about backing her dreams. She threw a an anniversary for her clothing line. She had a photo shoot. She had models and everything there for a photo shoot. She had a fashion show, and then she had all of her artwork up on display. And where was that at?
I don't remember what the place is called.
Okay, but
It was like
but
like
it wasn't
an
in the
event
backyard. It
space.
wasn't in the
Yeah, it
basement.
was
It
in an
wasn't in the
event
garage.
space.
There was a
Yeah.
museum that she actually
Yeah.
went and rented out. I had to go with her to rent out this
Yeah.
museum. I wrote the check. She gave me the cash. She funded this entire thing
Yeah.
herself. And then
I also had
just
artists performing.
art,
Yeah.
DJ,
Yeah.
the whole 9 yards. And this wasn't something that I, told her you need to do these things. She came up with all of these things. She just needed the backing, the support. She couldn't even drive at the time we did this. I'm driving her back and forth. We're setting up all of this good stuff. But I believe in supporting your children's dreams, helping to make them happen when and where you can. Now, there came a stage when your clothing line got to be so big. I said, you need investors to do this. And what did you do?
I went ahead, I called my brothers and I was like, look, I'm gonna need y'all help. And we set up a meeting and I got them on a Zoom call and I had like a whole PowerPoint presentation and they were like so shook and so shocked, like, wow, I thought you were just, gonna call us and just talk to us. But I had it all visually planned out.
Yeah.
I'm gonna give you this much back from your investment in this amount of time. So all of that, and he's really good with stuff like that. So I was asking him, he's telling me like, what are you gonna gross and all this? And I'm like, what are you talking about? So yeah, it definitely was, full support beginning to end.
Yeah. And to your credit again, this is not something that you were new to as far as presenting to people to persuade them to get what you wanted. And basically in sales, there was a point where she wanted some vitamins for her hair and her nails. She didn't tell me what it was. She scheduled an appointment with me. All right. Because I guess I'm always running around doing a bunch of different stuff. She scheduled an appointment with me, had me sit in front of the TV, and she pulled up a PowerPoint presentation and told me about these vitamins that she wanted. I could not wait to spend the money to get her these vitamins because I was just so impressed with the way that she was communicating. She was very, very businesslike, and at a very young age, she's always been this way. And how could you not support that type of dream? Anything else you want to add as far as being a good dad before we move to the bad?
I feel like you kind of just also brought it up is like communication. Like, I think that's something that I was like kind of learned through like you and growing up and kind of like just being able to be patient and listening and like the story
You
where
and Jada were in the room.
yeah, we were in the room and you had came in and me and her were talking about like like growing up not having our mom and stuff. Like we were noticing like just like there are things that you can't do that like you can't be a mother, like you're a father, so like everything you're doing is great, but it's just like that's a missing hole that like you can try to improve on a little bit, but those aren't going to be things that we're expecting from you. So it's just kind of like we were sad and like he got upset and he like walked away for a little bit and like we felt bad and we're like, oh my goodness. And then he came back and just was like, I understand, and like just was able to communicate, and we understood like instead of getting upset and being upset at us and because his feelings are hurt, he took the time to think about it and be like, okay, so what is something more that I can do to kind of help you guys in that area.
Yeah, and I strongly believe that as a parent, listen, I've said it over and over again. There is no manual to being a father, to being a parent that tells you this is what you do in this situation, that I can go look up chapter and verse. Okay, I have this situation. Here's the solution to it. And even with different children, the solution is different for the exact same situation. So you have to be able to listen. And sometimes what they say will hurt your feelings. Don't get in your feelings. Okay. You'll recover from it, but be able to talk through it. And ultimately, I wanted them to be able to express themselves. Something's missing. I don't have this. I don't have that. I need this. I need that. And even, I felt badly because they didn't have it and that I wasn't providing it. And maybe I thought I was providing it, and they let me know, hey, it ain't getting it, Pop. You ain't doing it right. Okay. So, and that was hurtful, but I thought about it and I said, okay, what do we need to do to make this thing right? And you need to be able to do that with your kids. You need to be able to, say, I'm sorry, I missed the mark, and then move on. And I think they respect that as well. All right. Do I do anything bad? Have I done
where
anything?
do I start? I definitely think that like one of the things like, and I don't even think really it's like bad necessarily, but being able, get me on the right track real quick. Okay, being able to like
She's looking at her notes.
I know.
This is my child that has the gift of administration. She's very organized and everything else. She texted to me this morning. We talked about it, and now she's going back to her notes to make sure we get it right. Yeah. So what was it?
And I think kind of leading from like our last point was just like I guess quote unquote things that were missing, and something that like we have worked on and kind of worked through is like the like being able, like protection looks like one thing for like men and like the expectation of that, but we more so needed like emotional protection, kind of getting that reassurance of like, okay, you're feeling this way. Like he's very, okay, let me solve it. I want to solve it. Yeah. And we're more like, I just want to talk. Right. Yeah.
Right. And if you've ever seen that movie, White Men Can't Jump, and Rosie Perez's character is saying to Woody Harrelson, just emoting to him. And he says, okay, but what do I need to do to fix it? And she says, no, I don't want you to fix it. I just want you to listen. And I had to learn that that's what I needed to do with my daughters, is just listen, not feel like, okay, this is a charge to action. I need to find a way, shape, form, resources, whatever it may be, to make this go away. Sometimes it's just, I just need to listen. And I had to learn that through dealing with them. But again, there had to be some feedback there to learn that. It's a learning experience, a growing experience. It can be very rewarding when you do it somewhat right. I don't even want to say right, because I got it wrong so many times before I started on the right path to getting it right. Okay. What else you got there?
Oh, okay. The list is long. It's real long.
Listen, let's do this. That's why I invited you on here. You, like your sister, insisted on being on the podcast. So
we were like, when are we going to be on? When's my turn? I think it's, I guess it's not necessarily anything bad that you do, but it's just more of like experiencing other people, like in like growing up, and their moms would be like, well, what time are you going to be home? And what are you wearing? And what is this? And what is that? And why didn't you take out the dishes before you left? You need to come back home, stuff like that. Like those are not things that I experienced. And I'm like, oh, okay. But there'd be times where it's like, okay, he told me to be back at 10. It's 10:30. He's not going to text or call or ask me where I'm at. Like that was definitely something that I think made me extremely independent in a good way. But also it was something like growing up, I was like, dang, where's my call at? Where's my curse out at?
You felt left out, huh?
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
Well, let me also ask you this. You talked a little bit about protection. Did you ever not feel protected?
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when you were out And did you ever feel like if you called me, if you needed something, that, the phone would go to voicemail or you wouldn't be able to reach me?
Definitely not. You know how many times I've gone to sleepovers or people's houses and I'm like, come and get me. I'm ready to go. No question. All right, I'll be there in 15 minutes.
Yeah. And for me, when you would make those phone calls, I would not hesitate to come. I wouldn't ask why. I wouldn't ask what was going on. I wouldn't try and convince her to stay. I would just immediately drop what I was doing and go get her, because I wanted to teach her how to trust her instincts and her feelings. And if I negated those, it would have, set up a whole different feedback network in her mind as to, oh, I feel unsafe, but I'm gonna stay here because last time I felt this way, my dad told me to stay. No, if she felt unsafe, I would just, show up. I remember one time dropping you off to go to a sleepover over in Towns End. And Jada and I went to the movies down in Dover. So we were, I don't know, maybe 20 minutes away. We got to the parking lot. We got out of the car. We start walking into the mall where the movie theater was. And I get the phone call. And we just turn around. So in less than 30, 45 minutes from the time I dropped her off and had other plans to do other things, she calls and says, come get me. Yeah. And the people that she was there with did not even know that she called. So I always want to leave it open. If you don't feel comfortable, always call. And that's part of being a protector, is being able to, make sure that they feel secure in the environment that they are. And if they're not, they know that you can come get them. What else? You mentioned something about that I was patient and would go kind of get through anything. I miss a flight or the plane gets delayed.
See, always try to switch back to the positive. But yeah, he travels a lot for work and stuff. And one of the big things, I'll tell my story first. I went to New Orleans for my birthday. And I was at the airport. I was there sitting and I was working on my computer. And the flight had left a little bit early, and so I missed it. And I am running around crying, like, I can't find anyone. How am I even going to get home today? What am I going to do? I'm all out in New Orleans by myself. I'm like, and he'll go to the airport and flight's delayed or the system's not working, and he'll just, I'm heading back home, or let me go get a hotel for the night. And I'm like, what is wrong with you? Like, I would be freaking out. And he's like, it just is what it is. And I'm like, that is one mindset I need to adapt more, because I get very anxious. But I mean, you're right. There's nothing you can do.
Nothing you can do. You don't own your own plane. You don't fly your own plane. Yeah. And I think I even said to you, is there anyone trying to hurt you right now? Is there an immediate threat that you should be afraid of, that you should be upset about? And you said no. I was like, do you think you're going to get home this week? You were like, yeah. So what's the problem? We can work this out. We can get it. And what do I say is the most important thing to pack whenever you travel? Patience. There you go. You got to pack your patience whenever you travel, because you're at the mercy of other people.
Yeah. Okay. And I struggle with that. I like to be in control, know exactly what's going on. I'll fly the plane if I could.
Now, do you have anything else you want to say, an instance of something bad before we get to the ugly?
No.
No? Mm-mm. All right. Let's talk about the
ugly.
I
do have one.
Okay.
You talk too much.
Okay, I'll accept that and hear that. As long as you accept that you have your moods. There are times when you want to talk and you will talk too much. And then there are times when you don't want to talk. During COVID, I would get up and come in your room and say hi, and you'd be like, it's too early, don't talk to me. Okay. And then later on that day or the next day, you would talk my ear off. Okay, so yeah, I talk.
But you can talk all the time, anytime. That's an issue. You know what else it is? Stubbornness too. Keep going. I can keep adding to the list as you talk.
All right. So I recorded your sister earlier,
Mm-hmm.
and she talked about stubbornness as well. So now everybody watching the podcast and listening to the podcast is going to think that I'm stubborn.
You are.
Can I?
What's your favorite thing to say?
What?
When have I ever been wrong?
You're supposed to tell everything.
I'm just saying. I'm just saying.
Well, you didn't notice, but as a kid, there was a TV show called Father Knows Best, and I believe in that. Father Knows Best.
Oh my goodness! See,
Well,
the problem, right?
Well,
now.
I guess I'll have my father on in one of these episodes, and then maybe he'll refute that. I believe that Father knows best, but for my kids, I know best.
But you know what? I can say sometimes when I'm like, you don't know, I'll come back and be like, yeah, you were right. Yeah. Your brain works sometimes.
Okay. All right.
Even a broken clock is right twice a day.
We're laughing because that's something I say all the time about myself, that a broke clock is right twice a day. When they tell me I get something right, I'm always right. But anyway. All right. Tell me about the ugly.
The ugly.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
All right.
Let's see.
Yeah. Something about trust other people.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I feel, especially in like relationships, friendships, all that, I just trust people 1,000%. Like my trust is just given. Okay. You talk to me, we have a relationship, I have trust. Like it is just naturally that way. And I blame it on him because it's like, obviously he probably didn't make every lacrosse game, but I felt like he was at every single game, like we went to private school. We had to be dropped off every day. When I was vegan, I would want Chipotle every single day. And if I forgot it, he would go to Chipotle and bring it to me by the time lunch started. Like there was just no absence of like, I'm going to make this happen. And then, it makes it worse. Anytime you said no, I'd be like, what? What do you mean? So it definitely was like a much different environment than like I feel like most kids. Like a lot of like I've heard people like be on the phones with their moms while they're arguing and they're like da, 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 calling them out their name. Like they'll fight with their mom or their parents and stuff. Like or like some people like I know like they've like their step parents have like hit them or like done stuff to them. And I'm just like, that's crazy. Like, what do you mean? So to me, it's just, I'm not used to stuff like that. So I feel like a lot of people adapted this mindset of like the people who love me disrespect me. And I just don't come from that. Like, so to me, I just trust everyone has great intentions. And then when I find out like, oh, wait, what? Like, you were, lying or you did this or that. It's just very shocking to me because I'm like, almost like, what's the point? Like, you know what I mean? Like, you'll have these pillars of like respecting someone and being honest with them and like showing up for them. And some people, they can fake it. Like, they could fake me out because I just assume that they all have best intentions.
Okay. So I'm going to just say it a little bit different way. There was a standard set in the household that I had integrity. Usually if I said I was going to do something, I did it. Could be trusted, had your best interest at heart. And then when you meet other people, you automatically give them those same attributes. And then later on find out, hey, they're not as trustworthy as I thought. They're not who I thought they were. So you think that was a negative. So, and I'm going to just frame it a little bit differently. I probably did not prepare you for people in real life as much as I should have, so that you would be ready for people that that
Yeah.
would do that.
Because, I say all the time, I'm like, I just don't understand why they did that. It just doesn't make any sense. Like, what? And then Jada, she'll say, well, people are stupid anyway. And I'm like, I know, but like, it doesn't make any sense. And she's like, stupid people make stupid decisions.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. And we talked a little bit about you in that same vein of trusting other people, um, not being afraid.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, of people, no matter how big they are, no matter what position they hold in life, you just
Yeah. If I feel like I'm disrespected or like, there's something to be talked out about, like I'm not going to yell and argue with you, but I am going to be like, look, what you did doesn't make sense, right? Like, like you got to give me some evidence of how this makes sense. You can't give me that. Like, I'm going to let you know, watch your tone. This is my boundary. You need to fall in line or go.
yeah. We talked a little bit about that, how not just with me, but you have older brothers,
Yeah.
6 foot plus, 5 male cousins, all of them 6 foot plus, and you were the baby, so you would go around hitting them, punching on them, jumping on them, and everything else. And of course, they wouldn't beat you up. They wouldn't give you what you deserved in that situation. And when you get out in life, in the streets, now you have to reel that back in and be a little more careful. And frankly, I'm always afraid for you and your sister because of that you don't know the restraints that you should have. You know, a little too much with the mouth.
But I think actually we're good at it because we know that we have boundaries and we got something to lose. But I think we have a level of like, okay, I know if I say this or talk like this, got to be ready to fight. Like, we know the level to take it to where it's like, okay, let me draw it back unless I want to fight. Now,
did you learn that from me or did you learn that on your own?
I think it's a combo. I think it's a combo. Yeah. I think, like you would get upset. You're not yelling at us. You've never whooped us. Like it's a very different, like, okay, this is how far you take it almost, like you don't take it there unless you're ready for some real consequences.
Right. Consequences and repercussions. All right. Anything else to sum up everything, good, bad, ugly, anything else you want to add before we close out here?
Okay, I have a question for you.
Okay.
What would be your like ugly? If you would say for like for fatherhood as something that you look back on or like think about, well, not look back, we still here, but think about like, that you've probably maybe improved on, because I think that's we talked about that like you're very willing and easy to like listen, take it and then learn from it and change in that way.
So, and this is something you shared with me recently, that on the night your mother passed away, I did not personally come to you, explain to you what was going on. I kind of left it up to family members who were also hurting and grieving, and maybe did not prepare you enough for the possible passing of your mother, which has repercussions and reverberations even now, had I known. And I'm not saying that's something I wish I had a chance to do over again. Not saying that I did something wrong in the moment, because I did what I knew to do in that moment. And I don't think, that's as far as fatherhood, that's an extreme case. Talking about the death of your spouse, the death of your child's mother to them at 9 and 11 years old, and not knowing what was said to them by other people, by family members in that moment that had reverberations that went on and on. I was dealing with my own grief and trying to figure out, what the next move was. Very, very confusing time, and everything. But I wish I had an opportunity to do that over again. I won't say that's something I did um, wrong per se, because I don't know if I could have done it any differently. If I go back and really think about the feelings and everything else that I was going through, but I wish I had that opportunity to do it over again. And that's something that I hope the podcast helps with, and maybe I'll do an episode on that, or at some point, if you as a father find yourself going through a situation. I don't think we as men talk to each other enough about, hey, I know you went through this. Could you help me get through this? As men, we're usually taught to, just kind of tough it out and do whatever it takes to get stuff done. And you don't have to reinvent the wheel. You're not the only one who's gone through some of these things, and reach out and protect them. And I know, as far as my grief journey goes, I work with a group of men who've all lost their wives, a widowers group, and we meet on a regular basis for the last two plus years, and we kind of talk through the feelings, the decisions, and everything else that we've made, and help each other through. I didn't have that 13 years ago when my late wife passed, but it is available, and I'd like to make it available to anyone. Reach out and contact me through social media, through the comment section here. And let me know you'd like to be a part of something like that. But if there's a situation as far as being a father that needs to be dealt with, that you think someone may have experienced or already, by all means, talk to them. Listen, we talk about football and basketball and stuff that really don't matter. What we do with and say to our kids has last for generations. I don't remember. I remember Kansas City won the Super Bowl last year. I'm having a hard time remember who they played. But what's going on with this one over here and her siblings? Yeah, I remember those things, and some things you just don't get another opportunity to do. Listen to us on wherever you get your podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeart, TuneIn, you name it, wherever you get your podcast from. Please download, listen. You can watch this episode and other episodes on YouTube. Manhood, MANNHOOD. Go watch, learn about fatherhood, become a better father, understand better who your father is and why maybe he did the things that he did. Joy, thank you for being here today.
Thank you.
Okay. You all, God bless and have a great day.